Hey folks, welcome back. Another video here for Banished to Doubt. I identify as, in this human body, George McNamara, and I bow to the light that's inside of you. This video, I want to talk about the inner voice. I'll touch on that for a little bit. You see, we developed this idea, this identity from when we were born. You see, when you and I were born, at age 0, we were in what's called delta brainwave state. So that first year of our life, we slept most of the time because that's what infants do, because delta brainwave state is one of the slowest brainwave states in our neurology. The brain was on at that time, so it started to download information. And from age 2 to age 4, we were in, theta brainwave state. If you want to think of theta, think of somebody being hypnotized, right? Think of the hypnotist with the watch on the string, telling the person you're getting very sleepy, you're getting very tired. What they're doing is they're shutting down their conscious mind. So you and I very much were in a hypnotic state. We started to interact with our parents a little bit. We used our first words, what have you. From age 4 to age 7, we were in what's called alpha brainwave state. That's slow consciousness. Think of sitting on a couch, watching a computer, watching TV, TV programming, just like the computer. And you're kind of just there. You're not really sleeping. You're not really awake. You're sort of in that slow, kind of a murky kind of a consciousness. And then from age 7 on, we're in what's called right now beta brainwave state. Now, the conversations we had were very, very key to the formation of what we call this inner voice. Conversations with our parents, what have you. You see, all the information that was being supplied to our subconscious brain. We were hypnotized. We didn't even realize it. So just like a person who's under a spell, a hypnotist spell, we just sort of blindly, obviously, follow along with whatever our caregivers said, teachers, what have you. So this information is, if we come from here, that information from the time we're born, actually even before that, I'll get to a different video. You can watch some of my previous videos about the time before we're born, how that influences us. But you start to see all this sand starting to pick up, starting to accumulate. These are all the conversations, the words, the thoughts, the behavior that was modeled between mom and dad and society at large. If you went to a church or a synagogue, what have you, depending on your faith. Okay, so all of that was molding you and I, our brain. So we've been conditioned to judge ourselves by standards that do not exist in nature. Because those who raised us, those caretakers, they didn't know any better. They thought they were doing the right thing. In some cases, maybe they were, but for the majority of the cases, the majority of the conditioning, 60% of what we witnessed, what we downloaded, is disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limiting as far as beliefs go. So that's why, excuse me, we've been conditioned to judge ourselves by standards that do not exist in nature. Trees don't worry about what other trees think. Bees don't go from one flower and think, I'm not so sure I want to go to the other flower. Maybe not today. I'll do it, Bob is over there. I'm not going to bother him. That's Bob's flower. That's not my flower. Oceans, they don't, waves don't worry about if I'm being too big and making too much noise. These are the conditions, the standards that don't exist in nature. Okay. Most human relationships are based on mutual unconsciousness. Now, again, starting from when we grew up, the conversations we heard, the behavior that was modeled, excuse me, we gathered together to reinforce each other's stories, to validate each other's dramas, to confirm that, yes, the world's exactly as we think it is. And we bond over shared complaints, our common fears, our collective agreements over what matters and what matters and what doesn't matter. Apologize, this time of year is still with the allergies. Okay, so these are all, again, created, and we model the behavior. So, a quick story that helps to illustrate this. Okay, scientists in Japan, I believe it was Japan, had a monkey, and it was a full-grown female monkey. And what they did was they watched the monkey. They brought it into the lab and they observed it as they gave it instructions on the computer, like I'm talking to you. And it was teaching the monkey over months and months and months how to type in certain code. And when she typed in the proper code on the screen would pop up different colored bars. And they taught her how to select the right bar. And when she did, then the computer had a mechanism where it would spit out a coin. And they showed her how she would take the coin, get off her stool, run across the floor to the other side of the room, put the coin in the vending machine. The vending machine, she would then pull on a lever, it would spit out a treat. So for months, they worked with her and worked with her and worked with her. And every time she did it right, she would get a treat. Well, over this time, she got a cub. Okay, she had a baby monkey. And so she was carrying the monkey, the baby, the cub. So what she would do was she would go through, again, all these different trainings, but she was carrying the cub. At one time, they said, to their astonishment, after about a week, and I think it was only a couple of days, it wasn't even a complete week, she got off the stool, walked across the floor, went and got her treat. At that time, they said they were astonished. While she was doing that, she left the baby behind. The baby was on the stool. The baby went right to the computer, quickly typed in the code, selected the right color bar, pushed a couple of buttons. The coin spit out of the computer. The baby took the coin off the stool, ran across, put it in the machine. It got a treat. And they said couldn't believe that how did the baby do this? Because the baby was observing the behavior that was being modeled by mom. So we learned this way. There was no interaction other than that modeling the behavior. So this is why later on we have mutual unconscious relationships. We don't even realize it, obviously, because it's unconscious. Okay, so I want to take a step further. So here's a different way. I heard Alan Watts say this. Problems, just a different way of thinking, right? Problems are just thoughts we're taking too seriously. Identity is just a costume most forgot that they are wearing. So going back to what I started, in the very beginning of our life, yours and my behaviors were just modeling. They were being modeled for us. Let me just adjust this computer, guys. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay? We're just modeling the behavior. We are, in a sense, we're not identifying with our true self. That's why I say I bow to the light that is inside of you, because it's not who you truly are. Who you are is part of that field, the universe. If you look, you looked up and looked at my previous videos, I talked about living in a fractal universe. A great way to understand this is to watch the movie The Matrix. Okay, but go watch my previous videos on fractals and fractal universe, and how what appears in the universe appears in nature, and it appears in us, our brains, our lung system, our blood. It all the same as this fractal occurring in nature and occurring in the universe, and also occurring in the internet, the rivers, all of that. Okay, so the inner voice has been shaped by everything you've ever experienced, you and I, our parents, our education, books that we've read, conversations that we've had, the culture we've grown up in. So you were given a name. I was given a name, first name and a last name. And we were told that this was part of a culture, and that there were certain rules within this culture, right? A certain religion that you are now a member of. For myself, being a Catholic, I was just taken to a church. They put the holy water on my head, and boom, I'm a Catholic, and there are certain rules that I have to abide by, 10 Commandments, and you're a sinner, and then if you don't go to confession, right? You see all this. So this is the conversations taking place, and these thoughts. All this is being put inside of us and creating this inner voice. It's where it comes from, but it's not true. But we're led like a Pavlov's dog. We're led by this. It's how we end up in these not in these, but in relationships where they talk about being unconscious. You see, everything that you think, all the thoughts that you have come from beliefs that you have about yourself, these perceptions and these assumptions you have about yourself. And they've been formulated during those years. And now, during the first 7 years, we're under hypnosis. From 7 on, we're in repetition. 95% of our day, your day, my day, is spent within the subconscious programming. You see, because I didn't tell you this, but I've said it in previous videos, at age 7 is when yours and my conscious brain turned on. For those first 7 years, it was all subconscious. That's why we can say things like, if I ask somebody, well, tell me a programming you got at age 1, couldn't tell you. Tell me a programming that you got downloaded into you at age 2, couldn't tell you. Age 4, age 5, and beyond, most stories take place around that time when we were children. You'll know this by this story, or by this illustration. You have a friend. Dr. Lipton talks about this all the time. You have a friend. You know them very well, but you also know their parents. And let me ask you, are they more like their mom or their dad? And you answered like that. But the thing is, if you were to tell them, they would get upset because they can't see it. You can see it. Everybody else can see it. They can't see it because it's in the subconscious. They don't even realize it. It's why people react instead of respond on the road. How many times people say, I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I acted that way. Because it's a reaction. It is a subconscious programming, that inner voice that goes on and on and on inside of our head. But it's there from that. If you think about it, the inner voice, sounds a lot like probably your parents or teachers or what have you. You really start to think about that voice inside your head, because it is a collection. The inner voice is it's like a collection of all the conversations that you've ever had in your life with all the different people. It's why most people will not stop, take time off, and just be quiet, just be mindful of their own thoughts. We're so distracted. We're so addicted to distraction that you see people, I see it all the time. People are going out for a walk or a jog and they have they have earplugs. They can't be even a minute or two without being stimulated. But this is how we break through that. This is how we start to identify with the fact that who we are, is none of this. You are not that. You are this information that you carry, this data that you've collected all these years, is data from your parents and those and grandparents and on and on and on. But it's not who you are. You are enough. You are worthy. You are deserving of whatever it is that stirs inside of you. That's why I tell people, I coach, listen to that voice inside. Be still. Listen to that pulling, feel that pulling whenever something's going on. Whenever something comes up in your life and you find yourself reacting right away, allow the energy to go through you. Don't suppress it. But then after it goes through you, sit back and say, okay, where did that come from? What must I believe about myself and assume and presume about myself that had me react that way or feel these feelings? Because whenever somebody's acting a certain way that gets you really upset, oftentimes it's because whatever that feeling is, whatever that identity that you have, you've already said, I don't want it anymore. I don't identify with that anymore. But you understand that that's the mirror. That's them, that person that pushes your buttons, talking to you and showing you, got it. I'm not like that anymore. Or, got it. I've got to work on releasing that energy, releasing that vibration out of my body. So I'm carrying that like a bag hanging over my shoulder full of rocks and bricks and what have you. I'm still carrying that identity. But now I can lovingly move on from it, allow it to go, allow it to move on. And from time to time, if it does show up, allow it to happen, allow the energy to go through and just say, okay, it's referred to as a refractory period. The distance between when something happens and we react and the time it takes for us to recognize, okay, that's the old me. Or not even the old me. That's just, I'm aware of that is how I used to think. That's the inner voice. That's all the conditioning. I don't identify with that anymore. I allow whatever that was to take place and move on. There's no more important moment in anybody's life than right now in this moment. This is the most important time in your life right now. And the most important voice in this whole world is your voice. See, because how you speak to yourself, this inner voice, if you listen to that, we formulate beliefs off of that. And then these beliefs formulate these thoughts. They go into our brain. Our brain then makes complementary chemistry to support that thought. And that chemistry then goes throughout our body. That's why we can feel certain energies whenever somebody says something or somebody comes around, somebody acts a certain way. What you want to do in that moment, you want to allow, if whatever energy comes up, allow it to go through, but then realize that if it wasn't love, if it wasn't an energy of love, then it's most likely a energy that you want to let go of. Just allow it to go and say, okay, I don't identify with that anymore. And the more times we can do this, the healthier we become. And what we end up doing is through repetition, we then, just like we did coming into this world where we went through hypnotic state and then repetition from 7 years on, we now go through repetition. And then when we're going to sleep at night, just that bar that I showed you, we go from beta to alpha to theta to delta. Delta is we're sound asleep, but that alpha to theta is when we start to put those thoughts in our mind. And this is who I am. So what we say the thing is, I am this and I am that, but positive. And as we do this, we start to then put these thoughts in our subconscious mind, because it is at that time when we're sleeping, right? We're going back to delta, we go through theta, we then program our subconscious mind, because the conscious mind is being turned off, just like the hypnotist who turns off the conscious mind to put you into a theta brainwave state, so you're in a trance. We're going to do it the other way. Okay, so that's going to sleep and wake up in the morning. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to reinforce these beliefs, these thoughts that we have. And as we do it, we're sort of like that murky beginning to our day where we're not quite awake yet, but we're still sort of sleepy. You're going to notice that you're going to start to saying these things because you're subconscious. And when you start doing that, recognize that as a huge step. Because what your mind is saying at that point is that information is in your subconscious mind, because your conscious mind's not awake yet. It's not on yet. If you have a dimmer switch, okay, for your lights, I would like for you to take it and slowly bring the lights down, dim them down to almost nothing. That is your conscious mind turning off when you're going to sleep. And then the reverse of that, slowly bring it back up to where it's nice and bright. When it's bright to its highest point, that's beta. When it's slowly starting to turn on, the lights getting lighter, that is your conscious mind in the morning starting to turn on. And if you could recognize that you wake up with these thoughts already in your mind, know that that is the subconscious mind. That's the thoughts already taking root in your subconscious mind. And what you're going to find is throughout your day, you're going to start to notice those thoughts more. You're going to have that refractory period is going to shorten, where it's going to be stimulus, response. In the middle, here's a reaction. Stimulus, reaction, response. Where before it was stimulus, reaction. Oh, that was right. That's the old. See, so the shorter that is, the healthier you are going to feel. If you're talking about losing weight, you're going to start to just naturally turn from the foods, the anxiety types of foods we eat when we're in anxiety. You're going to slowly turn from those because your body on a subconscious level is rejecting those types of foods. Your relationships are going to become much more relaxed and much clearer because you're going to start to recognize things that much faster. The refractory period, shorten. You're going to start to have more self-love. And the more self-love you have, the more that energy goes out to the world. And those people who are not in that air, they're maybe thinking the way you used to think, they're just going to fade away. That's what I talk about in my coaching about how to attract your SP, your special person. This is how we do it. You are the special person. You attract yourself. And by virtue of this universe, that energy goes out. And just like a bee to honey, you're going to attract all that to you. If you'd like to have more of a one-on-one type of a conversation about this or anything, feel free, go to my channel, click on Coach Geo, and I would be happy to work with you and to broaden this awareness. Have a great day.